once again to our telecourse for teachers of English. I'm Fanny de Guzman, and I'm your host for this episode on testing listening. In the earlier episodes, you learned that people listen for various purposes: to get information, to critique, analyze, evaluate, or even just to appreciate something listened to. In other words, they do analytical listening, critical listening, and appreciative listening. You also learned various strategies in teaching listening and the macro and micro skills involved. But how can you be sure that your students have acquired these listening skills? How do you know that they comprehend the text heard? In this episode, you will learn how to assess the listening skills of your students by way of observing how listening tests are developed and administered. For purposes of convenience, listening tests have been classified into two types: auditory discrimination tests and auditory comprehension tests. Auditory discrimination tests focus on phoneme discrimination and sensitivity to stress and intonation. Auditory comprehension tests, on the other hand, test the ability to comprehend, analyze, interpret, and synthesize the messages conveyed in texts, such as news reports, lectures, advertisements, and the like. In testing listening, as in testing other language skills, we follow 5 basic steps. First, planning the test. Second, constructing the test items. Third, administering the test. Fourth, scoring the test. And fifth, interpreting the test results. We also take into consideration several factors: the text, the tasks, the channel, and the response mode, and the item type. Remember, in a listening test, the pupils listen. The stimulus is always oral. If the stimulus is presented some other way, your test is no longer a listening test. The response, however, may be oral, written, or nonverbal. There are other things to remember when developing and administering listening tests. First, authentic texts should be made use of. As much as possible, they should not be written texts which are just read aloud. Second, test takers should be given information about what they are about to listen to. This will help them focus on what they have to listen to and what information they will have to sort out. Third, the text for the listening comprehension test should be presented at a normal pace, with natural intonation and stress patterns. Fourth, questions which require many details should be avoided. In fact, in some instances, the students may be allowed to take down notes. Earlier, I said that a very important thing to remember in developing listening tests is that the text stimulus is presented orally. The response can be oral, written, or nonverbal. So that you can visualize what I'm saying, let us now watch a classroom scene.
Class, I am going to say 3 words. Say whether these words are the same or different, okay? Pen, pen, pen. Again. Pen, pen, pen.
Same.
Very good. Pain, pen, pin. Again. Pain, pen, pin.
Different.
Very good.
You noticed that the stimulus was oral and the response was also oral. Let's watch another one.
Class, get your pens and papers ready. And on that sheet of paper, write down your name. After you have written down your name, write your year level after your name. And then draw a box around your name.
This time, the stimulus was still oral, but the response was written. Now, let us look at an instance where the stimulus is oral, but the response is non-verbal.
Kevin, kindly stand up and then run to the door. Go, Kevin! Very good. Now you may go back to your seat. Thanks, Kevin. Now, class, what I would like you to do is to stand up and then hop 3 times. Ready? Get set, go! Very good. Now you may sit down. Class, kindly get a piece of paper. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't look at your neighbor's work, okay? Now make a square from that piece of paper without cutting it. Now show me your work. Very good. Now form a triangle from the square. Show me your work. Very good.
Many teachers think that listening is difficult to teach or test because of lack of materials. This should not really be a problem since there are many authentic texts which can be taped. News reports, songs, play excerpts, advertisements, lectures, and many others. They do not have to be taped under ideal studio conditions, since in real life we do not always listen in ideal acoustic conditions. Videotapes of actual discussions or interactions can be utilized. The viewer-listener can now rely on more contextual clues to comprehend the text. Otherwise, you really have to write the text yourself. Would you want to know some techniques in testing listening skills? We'll have them in a moment. Stay with us. Earlier in this episode, we said that listening skills have been classified into auditory discrimination tests and auditory comprehension tests. The auditory discrimination tests are easy to prepare and to administer because they involve only the recognition of similarities and or differences in words, phrases, or sentences. These differences may be in the sounds that make up the words